Hello everyone and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Not too long ago I did my top 10 solo board games, 10 solo board games that I really enjoy, and today I'm going to kind of do the opposite of that and talk about 5 solo modes that fell flat for me. Now before we get into the list, I want to go over a few things about this list. First of all 5 of these games are games that I enjoy playing multiplayer. All of them have been rated at least a 7 or higher, so these aren't games that I find that I don't enjoy. However, the solo mode itself, for me, fell flat. Only one of these games, I didn't really enjoy the gameplay itself in solo mode. Most come down to what, in my view, is an anticlimactic ending to the game. I'm not a fan of solo modes that are simply beat your own score. I desire either a good AI opponent to go up against or some sort of win-loss condition that's pretty strong there. And so these didn't really offer either of those for me. None of these games have bad solo modes. They're just not for me. And so I'd like you to watch on to see what fell flat for me in order to see if maybe this is a game that you might even enjoy, because this isn't what to you needs to be for a good solo game. Or maybe you agree with me about these types of things and it will fall flat for you as well. And so just keep that in mind. This isn't that I'm trashing these games for their solo modes. I enjoy them multiplayer. They're just not for me as far as the way the solo mode works out. So let's go ahead and get into the first one I want to mention, and that is Red Cathedral. Now this is the one that I mentioned a moment ago that the gameplay itself fell a bit flat for me. Because in Red Cathedral, you are going up against an AI opponent, which usually that's a good sign for me. However, I found the AI didn't work out quite so well. It wasn't very well implemented. And the reason being is twofold. First of all, it has a setup ahead of time order of what it's going to be doing. It's going to do each action of the, I think it's 5 different actions. It's going to kind of cycle through those. And so you know ahead of time what's going to happen. And you also they can either be set up randomly, and they can either be really good for Ivan or really bad or somewhere in between. I find oftentimes, though, even the worse off setups will probably kind of work out once it gets into the second round and it kind of manages to get things in a little bit better of a sequence by conserving things from the previous round. But it could be really terribly set up to where the AI has no traction at all the rest of the game. And so keep that in mind as that part goes. The second thing, and this is really where it especially fell apart for me, is that whenever Ivan would put down ornaments, it was always at the same time. It's the end of all of his actions once he's gone through, right before he starts over again. And you can very well plan for that to block him from even being able to put down an ornament or keep him out of an ideal position, because you know when it's going to happen. You can delay certain actions that would give him a good place to put an ornament, or you can rush in there and get your ornament in there ahead of him, and so he has no place to put, or at the very least no ideal place to put an ornament. And so I found that you could very well game the system there just by holding off a round or so, because you know exactly when he's going to try and do that. A little bit more randomness in how these things happen would have gone a long way to making this into a better solo mode. And so that's Red Cathedral. The next one I want to mention is New York Zoo. And this one's probably my lowest rated out of these games for the multiplayer mode. I do enjoy it. It's kind of a race to the finish type thing where you're trying to get polyomino pieces onto your board to fill your entire board. And personally, I found the solo challenge to not be that challenging, as well as kind of feeling samey, even though you're getting different puzzle pieces along the way because it's randomly set up. It just feels like once you've played it a few times, I was done with it. It was fun to play once or twice, and after that I was like, okay, it's getting old. And so for me, as far as the solo mode goes in this game, I didn't have that longevity, that replayability that I look for in a good solo game, as far as the way I saw the challenge personally. And so New York Zoo, while it was fun for a time or two, didn't have that hold out for me. Next one I want to bring up is Meadow. Now Meadow is a game that my wife and I really enjoy playing. It's great multiplayer. But I found that the solo mode was just too easy to do well and to win, and didn't offer that challenge. It really became kind of just a beat your own score type game. And as I mentioned earlier, that's not really the type of solo challenge that I enjoy. There's a few exceptions to that rule, but overall, if it's just beat your own score, which this one really quickly becomes that, because I find it very easy to get a good score in this game, to where it's really just comparing to your other scores. And so for Meadow, while I enjoy the gameplay, and even in solo mode, the gameplay is the same in solo as multiplayer, I just find the ending anticlimactic for me. Again, that comes down to that whole beat your own score kind of gameplay. Next one I bring up is Parks. And I'm only going to be talking about the official solo mode for this one. There is a different solo mode out there I haven't tried, but the official solo mode that comes with the game has a great gameplay implementation. I really love how the Rangers work in this game, how they kind of get in your way and kind of mess you up at times and kind of rush you along to make sure that you don't get left behind and can't get things done that you need to get done. The gameplay mechanics of this in solo are awesome. However, again, it comes down to that anticlimactic ending for me. It's, again, very quickly it becomes a beat your own score. There is a range type scoring system where if you get within this range to this range, you did good. This range to this range, you did excellent. It's not the exact wording there. I don't really care for those types of things either so much for a few reasons. One, they don't really clearly delineate whether you've won or lost, and you kind of have to decide what range you see as winning or losing. And the other thing is, I find it fairly easy once I've learned this game well to oftentimes get in the highest range of there. And so again, it just devolves into that kind of beat your own score instead of really having a challenge to beat. I love the gameplay, even in the solo mode. However, the ending there is anticlimactic to me. And the last one I want to bring up is a game I really enjoy multiplayer, and that is Creature Comforts. And one thing good that you can say about the solo mode for this is it plays exactly like the multiplayer, except for the fact that there's no competition for anything. They didn't even implement an AI taking cards, or you can't really block spots anyway in this game because everybody can go wherever they want to. So there wasn't really much opportunity for that. And then at the end, again, it's beat your own score, and without anything along the way to kind of hinder you in doing that. And so it's a great way to practice this game if you wanted to practice Creature Comforts on your own, or if you're into beat your own scores. Again, this could be a good game for you. As far as it has an interesting scale system at the end of the game. Not just a scale system as far as the score goes, but what you focused on and collecting the most of, and other things like that, where you kind of put it together and you're able to say, it gives this little kind of title for you as to what you did based on each step of the system there. And so that's kind of a neat little thing at the end, just kind of say, oh, I was the protector of comforts, and there was more to that. I can't remember what else there is, but so it's kind of interesting you have that title at the end. But at the same time, in the end, it's a beat your own score without even anything to kind of get in your way along the way. Just kind of a practice, basically, for multiplayer games. Kind of how I would see this. I don't really like to practice for multiplayer games because I don't want to get far above anybody else in kind of a knowledge and skill level. And so since it doesn't really offer, for me, an interesting end game kind of win-loss condition, it's just beat your own score. Again, this one it's not one I'm going to be playing solo. It's one I did play once solo and said, okay, well, that was kind of interesting, but at the same time, I'm not really interested in playing a game that's just beat your own score. I'll just play it multiplayer. I really love this game multiplayer. You can check out my review for this game. I highly encourage you to do that because it's a game I love. And so these are 5 games where the solo mode fell flat for me. And you may find them to be stronger because maybe you don't have the same kind of hang-ups about what makes a good end game kind of situation for a solo game. There's one other one I want to briefly mention as an honorable mention, and that is My Little Scythe. My Little Scythe, I didn't go into it expecting it to be a major solo mode I was going to keep coming back to playing again and again because it's kind of a family game that I play with my family. I did want to try it out, though, just to see how it went. And even though I didn't have much expectations going into it, I will say this, the Automa mode for it kind of played a little weird, very random, oftentimes stabbed itself in the back, and what it didn't really help itself. And so I found it kind of a little bit anticlimactic as far as I usually love kind of those type of Automa situations. I don't know if it's just the game I played. I only played one game of it solo. And so again, not really much to go off of to be able to really give you my opinion there. But it just seemed like the Automa didn't really do the best job of being a competitor. But then again, it's a kids kind of oriented game, so maybe that's the reason they went for that. Just want to make that as an honorable mention because it didn't really have, you know, I wasn't really expecting it to be for me because it's more of a kid or family friendly game, and really I don't think the solo mode was really meant to be that big of a thing for it either in the first place. So I just want to mention that one very briefly. And so these are games that fell flat for me solo, but I enjoy them multiplayer. Tell me what you think in the comments. Are these the types of games that you enjoy solo player? I'd like to know. Are there games that fell flat for you for their solo mode that maybe you enjoy multiplayer? Well, again, let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video and gotten something from it. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.